Namaskar, hello and welcome to this special broadcast on Sansad TV. I am Namrata Singh. The year 2024 heralds an exciting era for global democracy. More than 60 nations, collectively representing nearly half of the world's population, are either currently engaged in historic elections or eagerly preparing for them. Something that has never happened in a single year before. From Asia and Europe to North America and even some countries in Africa and South America, citizens are participating in presidential, parliamentary and local elections. The outcomes of these elections won't just impact domestic governance, but also reverberate across the globe, influencing geopolitics, trade and international relations. "2024 is the biggest election year in history. With nearly half of the global population participating or set to participate in elections, this year promises to be historic in terms of voter turnout. The significance of these elections transcends national borders with potential implications for the global economy, trade and international relations. Bangladesh marked the start of the electoral calendar this year by re-electing Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, who secured her fourth consecutive term in the general elections on January 7th. Hasina's party, the Awami League, along with its allies, captured 225 out of 300 parliamentary seats. Despite a boycott by the main opposition Bangladesh Nationalist Party and its allies, Hasina's victory was decisive. This win positions Hasina to become the longest-serving Prime Minister in Bangladesh since the country's independence. Bhutan, a country transitioning from a traditional monarchy to a parliamentary system, held its fourth general election with the People's Democratic Party led by former Prime Minister Tshering Tobgay emerging victorious. The election, which took place on January 9th, was heavily influenced by the economic challenges facing the Himalayan nation. Reportedly, the PDP secured 30 out of the 47 National Assembly seats, allowing them to regain power. The Bhutan Tendril Party secured 17 seats. Pakistan held its 12th national general elections on February 8th, amid reports of rigging and the suspension of cellular and internet services. Independent candidates, supported by the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf Party, won 92 seats, while the Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz secured 79 seats and the Pakistan People's Party won 54 seats, according to the Election Commission of Pakistan. Over 5,000 candidates, with only 313 women, competed for the 266 directly elected seats in the 336-member National Assembly. The PMLN and PPP, led by Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, were the two major parties contesting the elections. Economic challenges worsened by floods in 2022 have affected millions, leading to high inflation and financial difficulties in the country. Indonesia, the world's third largest democracy, held its sixth election since transitioning from a military dictatorship in the 1990s on February 14th. Former Army General Prabowo claimed victory in the presidential election. He, along with his running mate Gibran Rakabuming Raka, the eldest son of President Joko Widodo, pledged to govern for all Indonesians. The presidential race was among current Defence Minister Prabowo Subianto and two former governors, Anies Baswedan and Ganjar Pranowo, aiming to succeed President Joko Widodo, also known as Jokowi, who completed 2 full terms. With over 200 million eligible voters across 38 provinces, Indonesia hosted what was termed the world's largest single-day election. Spanning 3 time zones and comprising over 18,000 islands, with more than 150 languages spoken, Indonesia's election process is diverse and expansive. With over 279 million people, Indonesia is the world's fourth most populous country. On January 13th, Taiwan held its first significant election of 2024, where the ruling party candidate Lai Ching-te won the presidential election. In a closely contested race, Vice President Lai Ching-te of the Democratic Progressive Party emerged victorious over Ho Yu-yi of the KMT and Ko Wen-je, the candidate from the Taiwan People's Party. On January 14, 2024, presidential elections took place in Comoros, a country in East Africa. President Azali Assoumani secured his fourth term in office, winning with 63% of the vote, despite approximately 340,000 eligible voters being called upon to elect both a president and governors. Turnout was low at just 16%, largely due to an opposition boycott. Tuvalu, a small island nation, conducted general elections on January 26th, drawing international attention due to geopolitical interests in the South Pacific. Notably, in Tuvalu, where there are no political parties, all candidates stand as independents, underscoring the global importance of even the smallest electoral processes. Alexander Stubb, representing the centre-right National Coalition Party, narrowly emerged victorious in Finland's presidential election on January 28th. He defeated Pekka Haavisto of the Liberal Green Party, who conceded defeat. Despite its small population, Finland has been a trailblazer in numerous fields since gaining independence in 1917. It consistently earns high marks in global rankings for stability, freedom, public safety, and social progress. Notably, its parliament was the first to embrace full gender equality by granting both men and women the right to vote and stand for election in 1906. On February 4, 2024, El Salvador conducted its general elections for the presidency and all seats in the Legislative Assembly. Nayib Bukele, the current president, achieved a resounding victory in the elections. During his tenure, El Salvador has undergone a remarkable transformation from one of the world's most violent nations to one of the safest in Latin America. In the general elections, the FMLN party secured the second position, while the Arena party came in third place. Azerbaijan's President Ilham Aliyev secured another 7-year term through a contested election held on February 7th. Having ruled for over 2 decades, Aliyev called for an early vote, capitalizing on a surge in popularity following his forces' swift retaking of the Karabakh region from ethnic Armenian separatists. Notably, Azerbaijan's two primary opposition parties, Musavat and People's Front of Azerbaijan, abstained from participating in the election. The forthcoming democratic elections in 2024 carry immense significance not only for the nations directly involved, but also for the global community. Among the prominent democracies participating are India and the United States. In India, the world's largest democracy, general elections will take place between April and May. With over 900 million registered voters out of a population of 1.4 billion, it's a massive event. In the United States, presidential and House elections are set for November. The US has about 160 million registered voters and will choose its 60th president. Meanwhile, the European Union will also hold parliamentary elections in June, expanding the scope beyond just nation-states. Through this report, let's explore the candidates, issues and implications of these elections, showcasing the power of democracy in action. India prepares for its upcoming general elections, expected to be held between April and May 2024, to elect 543 members of the Lok Sabha. The tenure of the 17th Lok Sabha is set to end on 16th June 2024. India's parliamentary system, defined by its constitution, distributes power between the central government and the states, making it the largest democracy in the world. Members of the Lok Sabha, the lower house of India's parliament, are elected through a process where every adult citizen aged 18 and above votes for candidates standing in their respective constituencies. Elected members of parliament serve 5-year terms or until the body is dissolved by the president on the advice of the Council of Ministers. The Lok Sabha convenes in the Sansad Bhavan in New Delhi to address matters concerning the creation, amendment or removal of laws affecting all citizens of India. Elections occur every 5 years, with 543 members elected through a first-past-the-post voting system. The 104th Amendment to the Constitution abolished the 2 seats reserved for the Anglo-Indian community. Eligible voters must be Indian citizens, 18 years or older, residing in the polling area and registered in the electoral rolls. They must possess a valid voter identification card issued by the Election Commission of India or equivalent. Central individuals convicted of electoral or other offences are disqualified from voting. The 2024 United States presidential election, scheduled for Tuesday, November 5, 2024, marks the 60th quadrennial presidential election. Following the long-standing tradition, presidential elections in the United States are held on the first Tuesday after November 1st. Over 160 million registered American voters will participate in electing a president and vice president for a 4-year term. In the United States, the presidential election is not a direct popular vote but an indirect one through the Electoral College. Voters cast their ballots for a slate of electors who are pledged to support a particular presidential and vice presidential candidate. These electors, equal to the number of representatives and senators from each state, then formally elect the president and vice president. This system was established by the framers of the US Constitution as a compromise between the election of the president by Congress and election by popular vote. Each state is allocated a certain number of electoral votes based on its population. The candidates who wins the popular vote in the state usually receives all its electoral votes, except in Maine and Nebraska, where the electoral votes are allocated proportionally. A candidate needs to secure at least 270 out of 538 electoral votes to win the presidency. Incumbent President Joe Biden, a member of the Democratic Party, will seek re-election, while his predecessor Donald Trump, a member of the Republican Party, aims for a second non-consecutive term. Should both Biden and Trump secure their party nominations, it would mark the first presidential rematch since 1956. This election follows the reapportionment of votes in the United States Electoral College after the 2020 United States Census. In addition to traditional Democratic and Republican candidates, the 2024 election features Indian American contenders. Vivek Ramaswamy and Nikki Haley have emerged as significant figures in the electoral landscape. Vivek Ramaswamy, a successful entrepreneur and author, brings a fresh perspective to the political arena with his focus on innovation and economic policy. Nikki Haley, a former governor of the South Carolina and US ambassador to the United Nations, is a seasoned politician known for her diplomatic prowess and conservative values. Furthermore, the outcome of the 2024 presidential election will have far-reaching implications both domestically and internationally. The election will influence America's role in global affairs and its relationships with other countries, making it a significant event on the world stage. The winner of the presidential election will be announced on January 20, 2025, coinciding with the elections to the US Senate and the US House, along with gubernatorial and state legislative elections in several states. On June 2, 2024, Mexico expects nearly 100 million registered voters to engage in a pivotal election, exercising their democratic rights to select a new president for a 6-year term. In addition to the presidential election, voters will choose 500 members of the Chamber of Deputies and 128 members of the Senate of the Republic. This election signifies a historic moment in Mexican politics, as elected legislators will have the opportunity for re-election in subsequent terms, marking a significant shift in the country's political landscape. It is noteworthy that this electoral process coincides with state elections held across the nation. The presidential election employs a plurality voting system, while the legislative seats are filled through a combination of single-member constituencies and proportional representation. This complexity reflects the nation's commitment to representative democracy. Of particular interest is the presence of two leading female candidates contesting for the presidency, Claudia Sheinbaum Pardo and Xochitl Gálvez. Claudia Sheinbaum Pardo, the former mayor of Mexico City, brings a wealth of experience in governance and urban development. Her tenure as mayor has been marked by progressive policies and initiatives aimed at addressing social inequality and environmental challenges. Gálvez, a former senator, is recognized for her advocacy on indigenous rights and environmental conservation. Her dedication to grassroots activism and community empowerment has earned her widespread support. The inclusion of these two accomplished women in the presidential race reflects Mexico's ongoing commitment to gender equality and the empowerment of women in politics. Their candidacies not only offer voters a diverse range of perspectives, but also symbolize the potential for positive change and progress in Mexican society. The 2024 election is anticipated to establish new records for voter turnout, with ballots covering over 20,000 public positions. This extraordinary level of participation underscores the vibrant democratic spirit within the Mexican electorate. The 2024 Mexican election bears immense significance, as it will profoundly shape the nation's political landscape for years to come, reaffirming Mexico's steadfast dedication to democracy and inclusive representation. The European Parliament elections are scheduled for June 6 to 9, 2024. Serving as the European Union's principal directly elected parliamentary body, these polls occur every 5 years and involve over 450 million eligible voters. They rank as the world's second largest democratic elections, second only to India. This upcoming election will mark the 10th parliamentary election since its inception in 1979 and will be the first European Parliament election following Brexit. With the withdrawal of the United Kingdom from the EU in 2020, the number of members of the European Parliament has been reduced from 720 to 705. The European Parliament, headquartered in Brussels, Luxembourg and Strasbourg, serves as the only directly elected EU body and ranks among the largest democratic assemblies worldwide. Over 400 million voters across 27 member countries will have the opportunity to elect MEPs, making this election the world's largest transnational election. The extensive cross-border nature of the EU election underscores its significance as a symbol of European unity and democracy. In addition to the European Parliament elections, 9 other European nations are also poised to hold national elections in the year 2024. This collective democratic exercise highlights the diversity and vibrancy of European politics on both national and transnational levels. South Africa is gearing up for its pivotal general elections in 2024, a cornerstone of its democratic process, wherein a new National Assembly and provincial legislatures will be elected nationwide. These elections carry profound historical significance as they mark the 7th instance of general elections conducted under the principles of universal adult suffrage since the end of apartheid in 1994. Universal adult suffrage, achieved post-apartheid, ensures that every adult citizen, irrespective of race or ethnicity, holds the right to vote and actively participates in shaping the country's political landscape. In addition to electing members of the National Assembly and the provincial legislatures, the formation of the new National Council of Provinces will occur. This council represents provincial interests at the national level and is comprised of members elected by each provincial legislature. This aspect underscores South Africa's commitment to decentralized governance, ensuring representation from all regions of the nation. Anticipation surrounds these forthcoming elections not only within South Africa but also internationally, owing to the country's historic triumph over apartheid and its transition to democracy. They symbolize South Africa's progress in fostering an inclusive and participatory democracy, emphasizing the continued significance of free and fair elections in shaping the nation's trajectory. South Africa adopts a parliamentary system of governance, where President holds the dual role of head of state and head of government, possessing executive powers. The 2024 election is anticipated to be the most significant in 3 decades, marking a pivotal moment since the end of apartheid in 1994. With more than 26 million registered voters, this election holds immense importance for the nation's future. The presidential election in Russia is scheduled to take place from March 15th to 17th, 2024. These elections will determine the next president of Russia for a 6-year term. It marks the 7th presidential election since the establishment of the position in 1991. Russian presidential elections are governed by the Russian Constitution, the federal law on basic guarantees of electoral rights, the right to participate in referendums of citizens of the Russian Federation, and the federal law on presidential elections of the Russian Federation. With the electoral legislation has seen revisions over time, the fundamental principles of the electoral system have remained unchanged. The president is elected through a direct popular vote in a 2-round majoritarian contest. If no candidate receives over 50% of the vote in the first round, and the top 2 candidates proceed to a runoff, which is held exactly 3 weeks after the initial vote. Vladimir Putin has held leadership in Russia for the past 23 years. In 2020, amendments to the constitution were made, potentially extending his rule until 2023, surpassing even the tenure of Joseph Stalin. The 2024 United Kingdom local elections are scheduled to take place on May 2nd. These elections will cover councils and mayors in England, as well as police and crime commissioners in England and Wales. In addition to the local elections, the United Kingdom is gearing up for the general elections, the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak indicating that they are likely to occur in the latter half of 2024. Another election to note is for the Mayor of London, who will be elected to a 4-year term. This position holds significant importance in shaping policies and governance in the UK's capital city. The upcoming elections represent a crucial moment for British democracy, as voters will have the opportunity to influence local and national leadership, addressing key issues facing communities across the country. Sri Lanka, another neighbouring country, may finally see polls this year. Presidential elections are slated to be held in Sri Lanka between September and October 2024, as stipulated by the Constitution. During these elections, voters will select a president for a 5-year term, with the incumbent president, Ranil Wickremesinghe, eligible to run for re-election. Since 2018, Sri Lanka has not conducted a general election, a situation President Ranil Wickremesinghe has reportedly postponed in an effort to address the country's near-bankrupt economy. The President of Sri Lanka is elected through a limited ranked voting system. Voters have the option to express up to 3 ranked preferences for the President. If no candidate secures over 50% of the valid votes in the initial count, all candidates except the top 2 are eliminated. Subsequently, the second and third preferences of the eliminated candidates are redistributed until one of the remaining 2 candidates garners an outright majority. The Mauritian general elections are scheduled to be held in Mauritius on November 30th, 2024. The National Assembly comprises 62 elected members distributed among 23 seat constituencies and 1 2-seat constituency representing the island of Rodrigues. These elections operate under the block vote system, allowing voters to cast as many votes as there are seats available. Mauritius is widely recognized as one of Africa's strongest democracies, with an impressive voter turnout of nearly 90% in the 2019 general elections. Additionally, Mauritius boasts one of the most open media environments on the continent. As nations across the globe prepare for significant electoral processes in 2024, the world stands at the threshold of profound political change. From the largest democracies to smaller yet influential entities, citizens are poised to exercise their democratic rights and shape the course of their nation's futures. These elections hold the promise of not only determining domestic governance but also influencing global geopolitics, trade dynamics, and international relations. That is all I have for you in this broadcast. Stay tuned for more and keep watching Sansad TV. Thank you.